Revenge with Romeo. The story. There is something life teaches us again and again. The people the world laughs at today may become the people the world listens to tomorrow. This is not just a story about revenge. It is a story about pain, patience, and courage. It is about a boy who was born into a world that believed he would never become anything. A boy whose body was weak, but whose mind was stronger than anyone could imagine. The story begins in a small village near the sea. The village was simple but strong. People woke up early in the morning to fish in the cold waters. Others went into the forest to hunt. The men trained to fight because danger could come at any time. Life was not easy there. Only the strong survived. One day, a child was born to a respected warrior in the village. The father was known for his strength and bravery. Many people believed his son would grow up to be just like him. But when the child was born, something was wrong. The baby's legs were weak. As he grew older, it became clear that he could not walk like other children. His legs did not carry his body the way they should. When the father saw this, he felt deep disappointment. He had imagined a son who would grow up strong and fearless, someone who would fight beside him one day. Instead, he saw a boy who struggled even to stand. The father tried to hide his feelings, but people in the village could see it. They whispered. Some said the boy would never become anything. But the mother refused to believe that. She held the boy close and told him every day that he was special. "You may not be like the others," she said gently, "but your story is not finished." As the boy grew older, his life became difficult. The other children ran across the fields, climbed rocks, and played games. They wrestled and laughed together, but the boy could not join them. He moved by crawling on the ground. Sometimes he tried to stand, but his legs shook and failed him. The children laughed. Some mocked him openly, others simply ignored him. Those moments hurt him deeply. Every laugh felt like a knife in his heart, opening inside the boy. While the other children spent their days playing, the boy spent his time watching. He watched how people spoke to each other. He watched how warriors trained. He watched how leaders made decisions. He studied everything. Without realizing it, he was learning something important. Strength does not only live in the body. Strength can also live in the mind. One evening, while sitting alone near the sea, the boy met someone who would change his life forever. The man's name was Kofi. Kofi was not the strongest man in the village, but he was wise. He had traveled across many lands and seen many things. People respected him because of his knowledge. Unlike the others, Kofi did not laugh at the boy. Instead, he sat beside him quietly. After a moment, he spoke. "Why do you sit here alone every day?" Kofi asked. The boy looked at the sea and answered softly, "Because I cannot run like the others." Kofi smiled slightly. "Running is not the only way to move forward in life," he said. The boy looked at him with curiosity. That day, Kofi told him something that stayed in his mind forever. "Your legs may be weak," Kofi said, "but your mind is strong, and a strong mind can defeat many strong bodies." From that day forward, the boy began to see himself differently. He began spending more time with Kofi. The old traveler taught him many things about the world, about strategy, about patience, and about thinking before acting. The boy listened carefully. Years passed. The boy slowly became a young man. His legs were still weak, but his mind had grown powerful. He had learned to think differently from others. While many people acted quickly and without planning, he had learned patience. But inside him, something else was growing. Anger, not the loud anger that shouts and breaks things, but a quiet anger, the kind that grows slowly after years of humiliation. He remembered the laughter. He remembered the whispers. He remembered the looks of disappointment. And deep inside, he made a decision. One day, he would prove them wrong. One day, the people who laughed at him would see who he truly was. One evening, as the sun was setting over the sea, he spoke to Kofi. "I want to leave this village," he said. Kofi looked at him carefully. "Why?" "Because the world is bigger than this place," the young man replied, "and I want to show them that I am not weak." Kofi was silent for a moment. Then he nodded. "If that is your decision," he said, "then we must prepare." Over the following months, Kofi helped him build something important.
Began to teach the young man things he had never learned before. Kofi did not teach him how to run or fight like the other warriors. Instead, he taught him how to think, how to plan, and how to understand people. The young man listened carefully to every word. Kofi also helped him prepare for the journey he wanted to take. A boat, every piece of wood was carefully chosen. Every rope was tied tightly. Every part of the boat was built with patience. A man who cannot even walk properly wants to travel across the sea, some of them said, but the young man no longer cared about their laughter. Day after day, the boat slowly took shape beside the shore. The work was slow, but it continued. They started early in the mornings and continued until the sun disappeared behind the sea. "Many strong men lose battles," Kofi said one day, "because they fight with their muscles instead of their minds." He had already spent years watching and observing people. Now he was learning how to use what he had seen. They began building something important together. It was not a large boat, but it was strong. Many people in the village laughed when they saw what they were doing. Others shook their heads and walked away. Their words had once wounded him, but now they only reminded him why he had made his decision. The young man helped as much as he could. Sometimes he crawled across the sand carrying tools. Sometimes he sat beside Kofi and helped tie ropes or smooth pieces of wood. The young man felt something growing inside him, confidence. For the first time in his life, he was not just watching the world. He was preparing to enter it months later. The small boat that once existed only, in his imagination, finally stood ready. Beside the water, the sail moved gently in the wind. The ropes were strong, the wood was solid. It was not the biggest boat on the shore, but to the young man, it felt like the beginning of something powerful. The day he planned to leave, the village gathered near the shore. Some came out of curiosity. Some came because they still did not believe he would actually go. His mother stood quietly near the water, her eyes filled with both pride and fear. She held his hands tightly. "I always believed in you," she said softly. His father stood a short distance away. For many years the father had looked at his son with disappointment. But that day something was different. He looked at him with respect. Not the respect given to a strong warrior, but the respect given to someone who had refused to give up. Kofi stood beside the boat. He placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. "Remember what I told you," he said. "The world will test you. It will try to break you. But if your mind remains strong, nothing can stop you." The young man nodded. Then slowly, with the help of Kofi, he climbed into the boat. The waves moved gently against the shore. As the boat began to drift away from the village, some people still laughed, some watched in silence. But the young man did not look back. For years he had lived under their doubts. Now he was moving beyond them. The sea was not easy. Storms came suddenly. Strong winds pushed the small boat in dangerous directions. Many nights were cold and frightening. But every storm he survived made him stronger. Every challenge taught him something new, and slowly, The weak boy who once crawled on the ground began transforming into something the world had never expected. Not a warrior of strength, but a leader of mind, patience, and determination. Years later, the sea carried him back to the same shore he had once left behind. But this time, he did not return alone. Ships followed him, men respected him. People listened when he spoke. The villagers could hardly believe what they were seeing. The crippled boy they once laughed at had returned as a powerful leader. The father stepped forward slowly. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then the father lowered his head slightly. "I was wrong about you," he said. Those words were more powerful than any victory. The young man looked around at the village that had once doubted him. But he did not seek revenge through anger or violence. Instead, he showed them something greater. He showed them what determination can achieve. He showed them that weakness does not decide a person's future. And from that day forward, the story of the boy who could not walk became a legend. Sometimes the greatest revenge is becoming stronger than they ever believed you could be, because this was the moment. I finally understood something important all those years. I thought revenge meant coming back stronger than the people who laughed at me. I thought revenge meant proving them wrong in front of everyone. But standing there on the shore of the same village where my story began, I realized something deeper. The greatest revenge is not anger. The greatest revenge is growth. The greatest revenge is becoming the person people said you could never become. I looked around at the villagers. Some of them were the same people who had laughed when I crawled on the ground as a child. Some were the same people who believed my life would never matter. But I did not hate them anymore, because without their doubt, I might never have discovered my strength. Without their laughter, I might never have built the determination that carried me across the sea. Sometimes the pain we experience becomes the fire that shapes who we become. And sometimes the people who doubt us are the same people who unknowingly push us toward our destiny. I slowly turned and looked at the sea again. That same sea that once frightened me had now become the road that changed my life. I thought about the long journey, the nights of fear, the storms, the loneliness, the lessons. Every challenge had built the man I had become, and in that moment, I understood that my story was never about my weak legs. My story was about my unbreakable mind. I turned back toward the villagers and spoke calmly. "Your weakness does not decide your future," I said. "What decides your future is the courage to keep moving forward, even when the world believes you cannot." The crowd remained silent, not because they were afraid, but because they understood the truth in those words. From that day forward, my story spread far beyond the village. People began telling the story of the boy who could not walk but refused to surrender. A story not about revenge through destruction, but about revenge through determination. Because sometimes the greatest revenge in life is very simple. Live, grow, rise, and become stronger than the limits the world tried to place on you. That is my story, and if you are listening to it today, remember this: the world may laugh at you now. They may doubt you. They may believe you will never succeed. But your story is not finished, not yet. Because sometimes the weakest beginning creates the strongest ending.